Hello folks, I am Ed Overstreet and welcome to the Night Sky Imaging YouTube channel. I'm going to be taking flats. I have had a night of imaging last night. Pretty uneventful, although I had to start late because of clouds. And by the way, that that live session is on. It's the last video that I've done, so if you're interested in seeing about an hour-long live streaming, it's been now done. Means loser. Start again. I'm Ed Overstreet. Welcome to the Night Sky Imaging YouTube channel. This isn't as easy as you think. And today I'm going to be taking flats. Last night I went live and I imaged Andromeda and I imaged Saturn and Jupiter. Although I think I shut it down before I went to Saturn last night. But at any rate, I had clouds that interfered. I hoped for an earlier start. So after this brief introduction, where you're supposed to like me or like the video, you don't have to like me, and subscribe. Then we'll go out and take flats, and hopefully it'll turn out, and I won't have to redo this because I'm not going to redo it. It either does work or it doesn't. Some flats. I just reinstalled all this equipment 2 weeks ago, and last night was the first time that I had a chance to do any deep space imaging, and so I need new calibration frames, and I'm going to take those now. Take off my cap, and I use a flat panel made by Spica Flat, and because I happen to know that I need some additional light neutral density filtering, I've got this clear glass, but it's clear but it's dark, and I've got 2 layers of it stuck together because this is a pretty fast telescope when you consider it's about f4. I'm going to attach this. In other words, the flat, even at its dimmest, is really too bright for this particular scope in the daytime. Ideally, all flats should be taken at night. And if you have a Newtonian, you cannot take light panel illuminated flats in the daytime, not outside. You might pull it off in a darker room, but you'll get all kind of funky stuff showing your secondary mirror and everything in them. So always take your flats, if you're using a Newtonian real fast optics, make sure you take those at night right before you start taking your subs. So I'm going to set this on top and make sure everything's hunky-dory, and then I need to hook this to my telescope, and then, well, actually I'm just going to use the laptop, plug it into the laptop. I could plug it into the Pegasus power box data line, but I'm going to just plug it in directly into my laptop. That works better anyway. And I really like the power box, or the Spica flat. I like the ultimate power box too. So there you have it. Have you noticed that I cannot talk and work at the same time? I say all kinds. I listen to my videos and I crack up. I call the computer a telescope. I call the Spica flat my dog. But you guys that have watched any of my videos have already figured this out, that you have to fill in the blanks. But one more time, this is a Spica flat light panel. It connects to either your data line in like a Pegasus or to your computer, and it has a power supply, and that's the power supply is that power supply helps to provide the illumination for it. So we're going to head upstairs now, and we're going to adjust the light the way we want it, and take our flats. And we're going to turn this off. Well, that was spiffy. Oh, what a day! I was gonna go live and image the sun again, and I think it probably would have worked out better if I'd have done that. But at any rate, last night I did image, and I guided my lost my page. Okay, that PhD 2 flew up there on me unexpectedly, but I'm going to set up to take some lights. I mean some flats. Good night. This is not a good day for me to be doing this. Start again. Oh, last night wasn't any good for me as well because I left this unchecked. So I had plenty of nighttime to get my RGBs, but I didn't check this, so my scope parked right after taking the green. Can you get a load of that? Okay, so at any rate, I want to make sure I save this because I'm going to create a new sequence for my calibration frames. Today I'm going to take flats using the Spica flat panel that you saw. I just connected it outside, and actually I did that video, had lunch, and now I'm back to do the Spica flex. So we're going to a new sequence with a profile, and these are the different combinations that I have using different cameras that I use for different telescopes that I have. And so I'm using the ASI 1600 with the Stellarvue 70T on an Atlas Pro with an 80 reducer. And so I'm going to open that up, and that's going to load the profile. And you build your profile by going up to Tools, Equipment Profile Manager, and you give your profile a name, you save it, and then you enter your camera information. In my case, it would be an ASI camera. Make it ASI 1, and I would want my camera to do a number of things. I would want it to warm up when the sequence ends. I have to enter my scale, which I happen to know is on this is 2.32. I don't know what the angle is, but the first time it plate styles, it'll let me know. You don't need this, but I know mine is 1.2. And you do need to put your pixel width and height, and I don't know what that is, but you can find those on the website. Then you go to your filters, and you got to find your driver for your filter wheel, and then you can set your filters and edit the wheel, and you can put whatever you want in there. You can create your filters by, if you know you got the L in number 1 and red, and then you just enter the name of your filter. And for me, I write out Lume, red, green, blue, HA, S2, and O3. I have 7 in my filter wheel, and then you have to know which uh, slot the filter's in, because it will count on that. Under focus, I use a Moonlight focuser. After you install your driver, you just go down and find it, and you can set up your settings with this as well, but mine's not connected right here, so I'm not. It will lock. This program will lock up if you try to access this and you haven't connected it, and I don't want to run that risk. But this is where you set up use autofocus, which I do, and this is where you set up your autofocus routine. I usually use 7 data points. My step size for this is 70. My autofocus delay for this setup is 10, and my minimum star I keep with 6. I always drizzle with this telescope, so autofocus before the sequence starts, I always do that, but if I stop and start it, I don't always do that. And I always autofocus when the temperature changes to 2 or 3 degrees. When I do an autofocus, I want to use the L filter because the Lume filter will focus faster. If you have stars, if your field's not flat and you have stars in the outer parameter that are not round, you might want to crop the area that the focus is going to use stars for by 5–10% or so, and that'll cut those perimeter stars out. I don't check anything else. That's all I have checked on this. I do use half flux radius, and then under telescope mount setting time, I normally use about 5 seconds, and then I always use meridian flip. You have to set that. I like to flip the mount about 15 minutes past the meridian, because if you flip too close to the meridian and you plate solve, because this is automatically going to plate solve for you after you flip, it may not be able to move far enough in declination to plate solve if it's going to hit the meridian. So let it pass the meridian about 15 minutes, and you got plenty of wiggle room to plate solve, particularly if your go-tos aren't spot on. Auto center after meridian flip. So after you're plate solving again is what that means. You don't need to wait 30 seconds after you do an automatic meridian flip. Oh, hush up, Astro. Okay, that's what I would set up if it were me. Under plate solve, I own Pinpoint. Plate Solve 2 is free, but you have to download the catalogs. Go to the Sequence Generator Pro website. They have instructions on how to get those catalogs. And I would also install this ASTAP plate solver. It's awesome. It's probably my favorite one. And you also have instructions on how to access those catalogs. After you have your settings set up, I don't bind 4x4, but I do bind 2x2. And since I'm using an L filter, I have my plate solve take, say, 6 seconds just to make sure I get to some thin layer clouds. I want to attempt to recenter it at least 5 times, and I like a 50 pixel error either way. Leave 3 degrees for the rotator, which I don't have, so I just leave it alone. Uh, the filter that I use for plate solving is going to be the L filter, and I want to use the blind solve failover, which means that I'm going to do it remotely. If you have internet access and your say ASAP fails or pinpoint fails, then it'll automatically go on the internet and plate solve for you. So I want to do that. And auto guide, I use PhD2, and I'm just going to find it right there. I go to my settings, and already installed, I can find the profile that I'm using, and I'm using the one for I don't remember, so I'm not going to touch that. I'll end up screwing it up. Let me see, what's my profile? Let me go to I'm using 52822 Starlight Express. Okay, 52822. So let's go back to, you know what, this is supposed to be see, I'm not any good at doing these freaking videos. This is supposed to be a plate solve, and I'm here setting up a profile. I'm gonna have to rename this video a little bit of everything. That's what we're going to call this. From Sequence Generator Pro, profile setting up to flats. I am sorry, guys. Hang in there. It'll be another long one, and I will get to flats because I have to get them. I had to get flats and darks. I'll do those in the early evening before I start chasing the blue channel for Andromeda and start doing some more solar, not, gee, Edward, talk, planetary, Jupiter and Saturn. All right, close that. Back to Sequence Generator Pro. I've got to reinstall the beta, the 4 point, whatever it is, 1.2 version of Sequence Generator Pro. I don't know why it's not on here. I thought it was, and but it's not. So anyway, you would go over here and pick up your I got two 528s, and just refresh. Then I want to connect all of my gear when and disconnect all of my gear when I boot up. Leave the port alone, and then I use environmental device. I like to use the Pegasus Ostro Observing Conditions. It comes with the Pegasus Ultimate Power Box. They send you a dew and a thermometer sensor, and so I get temperature, relative humidity, and dew point from that sensor at my telescope, which I might point out right now is 93.74 degrees, and the dew point 60. It just went up. It's going to be so humid. I'm going to finish working in the yard later on today. All right. And then you just continue to save this and give it a name. And I made all of these different profiles so I don't have to do it every time. And I'm going to cancel. All right. Why did I get out of that? All right. Let me go back to Sequence Generator Pro. Oh, it crashed. Well, let's reopen it. Why not crash? This is what I use instead of TeamViewer, and I'm on Astro 2 laptop. Oh boys. All right. Now I have loaded a new profile to do my flats, and so here we go. I'm going to create my sequence, and I'm going to have, we're going to do this from bloody scratch, folks. I'm going to change this to flat. Change this to flat. The only thing I wish Jared would do with Sequence Generator Pro is give us the option of having dark flats. But you just put your dark flats in the darks is what you do. It's not a big deal. I just wish they did that. Okay, I may have put too many events. Each one of these lines is called an event, and the series of events is called a sequence. Okay, now we're going to put the lume filter, the red filter, the green filter, the blue filter, and the HA filter. We're going to do them all. I made too many. The O3, I can't count, and the S2, and we can delete this. Well, I don't know why I deleted it. I'm going to put the darks in there. Okay. So I need a suffix, and this is going to name, this will go in the name of your file name. And I've got a suffix for every type of filter combination I use to go into my file name. So I got flat blue blue, flat green green, flat red red, flat lume lume. Okay, and we're going to have HA. Let's go down to HA03 and S2. I don't know what the exposure is, but I do want I want 25 each. I may go for 30. So I want 30. There will be no binning. I used to do 50. You don't need 50 flats. You can use 50 bias. It's a weak signal. And you don't need more than 25 darks, and I'm using 20 darks. I've tried everything. I can't see any difference. I need to give this a name. I don't want target, so I'm going to put, come on. All right, I'm going to call this, I just clicked on that wheel, calibration, frames, underscore, flats, darks, flat darks, dark flats. It's flat, darks, and bias. I'll take those anyway. So that's what I'm going to take. And most important, I'll put the date in 9/1/22. Because I do this all the time, I want to make sure I'm using the right calibration frames for the data period that I'm taking images. If I look back in time, say last year, and start working on some data that I either didn't process or I want to reprocess, I want to make sure I've got the right calibration frames to use for that kit. And normally I do darks and flats once a month. That pretty much coincides with the seasonal climate changes. I take my flats as often as every imaging session. It just depends on whether I adjust the optical train in any way, whether I add a IR UV cut filter or I rotate it. Anything that I do to it, I will end up retaking flats. So it's pointless to use the wrong flats. You just end up with more problems than it'd be better off taking no flats than the wrong flats. Okay, that's the name. We're going to accept that. So our name's up here. We want to find a place to store it, and I am going to store that. Let's go to my documents, and we're going to, I thought I had, I don't know why I don't have, okay. So this is going to be calibration frames. So this is going to be stored on my, no. it's been so long since I've done these. I'm telling you folks, we've been in a drought. See, I got calibration for the Newtonian. I got to put this on this drive. Okay, this is my external. All right, so we're going to go 9, 1, 1, shoot. 9, 1, 2, 2. I can't type, I can't talk, and I make videos. Go figure. All right, these are cal frames, and this is for the ASI 1600 and the 70T, and that's all I need. And I always will do, when I do these, I'll always do the narrowband. I just retake them all. Whether last night, I'm going to save this sequence, and there's the name, so I'm saving the sequence, and I wanted to show you something. It just occurred to me. Let me go to last night. This is last night's sequence when I forgot to take the blue. So tonight I'm going to uncheck this, I'll check the blue, and I'll knock those off right away and go to another target. But I got to get those. And but what I wanted to show you, something that I don't always do, but I've made a commitment this coming year, that I'm going to shoot my stars separate. So I've got RGB 8-second exposures. I'm going to take 20 each, and it goes really fast. And then this will be my stars only. And when I go into PixInsight, which is what I'll use, I will remove the stars from the image, and the image I don't need anymore. Although with Andromeda, I may want to blend the core of that image into the longer exposed images. So it just depends. But I do want the stars from this because they'll be tight, they'll be sharp, and they won't be saturated. They should have really, really good and a variety of color. I don't have to worry about deconvolution. And if I do want to do some morphological transformation work as the tool that's used in PixInsight, I can do that without affecting the nebula or the galaxy in this case. And then I took looms at 30 seconds, red and green, and I forgot to take the blue. So tonight I'll boot up, I'll get this knocked off right away, and then I'm going to find another target. And it might be, I already decided on 1396 last night, but I think I'm going to do the eastern-western veil because I can get it all in this wide field, and I haven't done that in a while. I do Andromeda every year. I don't know why I'm doing that again. I do it 2 or 3 times a year. It's probably next to the moon. That was the very first thing I looked at with the telescope, and I liked to wet my britches when I saw it. And when I got Andromeda images coming in, I went nuts. At that time I was a 68-year-old hysterical old man that couldn't. I was just blown away, and I've been blown away ever since. Just thinking while I'm watching this data come in, how amazing it is that I'm able to capture photons that have been traveling for thousands of years, in some cases millions of years, in some cases billions of years. And what the world was like, the universe was like when those photons left those targets, we'll never know. But boy, talking about looking back in history. Okay, back to flats, as promised. All right, here we go. I'm going to remove this window because we really don't need it right now, and I'm going to go up to Tools, and I'm going to come down to Flats Calibration Wizard. And before I do anything, I'm going to go click on my flat panel. Hope it's connected. There we go. And this is my Well, that's odd. I should have the 70T, but this is the 70T. Stellar view, that's fine. You don't have to put anything there, and I'm not. Just don't worry about what's there. But I'm going to bring up the spike panel again, and I'm going to set the. I'm going to keep this out front. I'm going to set the luminosity to say 200. It goes up to like 1,100, and don't pay any attention to this. If you want to save this as a preset, so that you don't have to do this over and over again, you can, but I find redoing everything works so much better, because if I take flats in the early morning, using the same preset, if I take flats at night or in the late afternoon or in the mid afternoon when the sun is real bright, light leaks in through the camera. It just does. And so I just don't even play. You can, and I thought at first I would have one for every combination, and then I don't use them. All right, so I'm going to use my, well, I got to go up here. Okay. I want to select the profile. Well, I'm going to use the one that I already have up. So I'm going to use the current sequence. And the current sequence was the one in the window I just made. So here's my, I want to loom, and I just want to do the 1x1 binning. I don't need flats for anything else. I tell you what, I'm not going to do the HA is going to be an altogether different exposure value. I'm just going to use, let's do the looms first. I'm going to set the target mean for 27,000 and tolerance probably 780 is fine. You don't have to touch anything there. And I'm going to start, and it's going to run a wizard, and it's going to start taking exposures. I need my histogram, and I want a histogram that's going to give me a spike about, not there, we're blown out, so it's too bright. So it's going to, it's going down to a 0.85 second. All right, so stop. I don't like it. Problem number one, it's recommending that I take almost a half a second exposure. And there's my flat, and there's the crap on my lens or optical train. But that's what it's recommending, and that's the histogram. Well, that looks good. Everything looks good. However, the exposure is not long enough. So what I'm going to do is drop the light down to say 50. And I may drop it down to 10. And keep in mind, I've got those two neutral density layers filtering out some of the brightness of this. So, but part of this is not the panel. Part of this light's coming from daylight. So if I did the same thing at night, I would have to probably raise this up. 200 is usually where I start at night. So, all right, so we're going to drop it down to 10, and let's start again. I want at least a 1 second for loom. I'd rather have 2 or 3 second flats at least. It's trying. All right, it's going to be fine. Here is a 5 second, and it looks pretty close. I'm happy. So it's a 4 second. That's good. Now we got a good flat. Yay. So that's what a good flat looks like. Got vignetting in the corner, got my dust. So it's solid for the red, so I'll have a 450 exposure for the red. I'll have a 449 for the loom. The green or the red is 450. The green is 449. The blue is going to be 450 as well. All right. So what I'm going to do is select save, not slave, save. And it says flat calibration data has been successfully saved. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to open up my sequence window. I'm going to pull this out of the way, and I'm going to trick this because I want the oh, we got to bring up our flats. Here, calibration frames. Okay, I'm going to trick this. I'm going to call this light, and now I'm going to do dark. Now I'm going to do flat, and you know what I did though? We're going to have to redo this. I used the current sequence, and the current sequence was the other bloody sequence. All right, we're going to redo our flats. Let's go back. Tools, flat calibration windows. I want to choose the current sequence. I could go ahead and just choose, would have not had this problem, but I'm going to use the current sequence. And I want da-da, 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 da-da. Life isn't always easy, is it? So I got LRGB. I haven't forgotten anything. We'll go say 27,000 EDU, 700 to give us plenty of wiggle room to set that, and we're good. So let's run this. I didn't change anything. No, we're still at panel brightness of 10. Okay. This didn't crash, did it? No. We're at 449, 450. It'll be about the same. And this is our histogram. This is where you want it, just a little left to center, slightly left to center. If you can get a 4 or 5 second histogram just slightly left to center, bingo. Celebrate. Then you got a working flat. All right. Save. Flat. Save to the current sequence. Bingo. And if this doesn't work, something has gone nuts. All right, we're going to change. The best thing to do is don't put flat in just yet. Just leave it as light, and then, but I just trick it and flat, and it populates the exposure, and flat, and light, and it'll save it from then on. So when you use this sequence, need this one. Okay. Now the reason why I didn't do HA and O3 is because I'm going to have to change the luminosity of the panel. 10, it would have been if I left it at 10, these would be 40 and 50 second flats, and they don't need to be that long. So I'll do those separate, and I'll raise this to probably 200. So let's first take these flats, and then we're good to go. Now, it's controversial. I'm going to turn my camera on, and I'm going to not do the cooler. It's recommended that you run your well, it isn't recommended. They say you don't need to cool your flats, and I don't, and it works out just fine. But it is so hot outside, 94 degrees. I always wonder, should I have cooled it by at least 10 degrees or as much as I possibly can? I don't even know how much I could cool it by as hot as it is outside. But at any rate, not a whole lot. All right, let's run the sequence. And the way you do that is click run. And it's setting the filter. It's taking the first one, and we can watch it do so. So we got the first one taken, and you see we're getting the good histogram over here. Bingo, bingo, bingo. Bingo, bingo, bingo. Let's bring this back. Now, when I'm done doing this, I'll do the HA03 and S2. And when it's completely done, all done, then I'm going to take the flat darks and I'll trick it. Let me add, well, I can't add a sequence now, but I'll use, for example, this is HA. I've already got a flat dark for red, green, blue, HA03 label, and I'll just create a whole new event for my flat darks, and that's what we'll do. All right, I'm going to pause this video because you're not going to want to wait while we take all these flats. It's like 6 minutes of time left to take all these flats, so I'll come back to you when that's done. Okay, that's completed. So we now have our flats. I want to make sure I save my sequence, and so we're going to uncheck this and this, and this. Now we're going to check our 03, and we're going to go back up to Tools, Flat Calibration Master. We're going to check current sequence again, and we're going to use this time we're going to flat our narrowband filtered images, and we're going to use 27,000 ADU, 700 for tolerance. You can leave 500. Sometimes it gets stuck trying to find it. I just find 700 works almost every time. Let's bring our spica flat dimmer in, and let's run this one up now to 200. And let's start it and see what it comes up with. Wow. I'm going to stop it. That's too bright for this one. And I'm going to stop this at 100. And let's start it again. Still 5 seconds overexposed it too much. And that was a nap. Stop it again. This is interesting. Something. Let's go down to 50 and change the panel dimness to 50. And wow, 5 seconds still overexposes. And that's 2 seconds. Stop it. I want a little longer than that. Let's go to 30. There's just a tremendous amount of heat and brightness outside, and it's affecting this. I'm going to probably retake these flats tonight. This is very unusual, but you get the idea of how you run this flat wizard. And the difference given taking these flats at night would be a panel brightness of 10 for your broadband and a panel brightness of 200 for your narrowband to get 4 and 5 second exposures. I'm going to go ahead and go with these. but HA is 2 seconds, O3 is 240. S2 is going to be much longer, it always is when it finishes. Wow, the whole thing is unusual. I'm going to save these. Yep, and we'll close. Let's come down here to flat. Let's change that to light, and then let's change it back to flat, and let's change it to light, and let's change it back to flat, and let's change it to light, and change it back to flat. Okay, we're getting ready to take those, but I'm going to add 7 new events. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And they're going to be darks. While it's on my mind. And I think we have one more. And this is going to be S2. This is going to be S2 flat dark. This is going to be O3, and this is going to be O3 flat dark, and this is going to be HA flat dark, HA. This is going to be B flat dark, and this is going to be G flat dark. And so we're going to change this to blue, green, and red. I added too many again. No, we got a loom. Red, flat, dark. Okay, red, flat, dark. And now we got a loom, flat, dark. Loom, flat, dark. Okay, and those settings are going to be, watch this, flat, dark, flat, dark. And so we're flat, tricking it to populate flat, flat, dark, dark, flat, dark, flat, dark. So when I'm finished running the flats, I'll just shut down. But tonight when I start taking my dark frames, the first darks I'm going to take are going to be my dark flats. And so I'll knock these off, and then I'll add my bias, and I'll change that with my loom channel or my loom filter, and that's going to be at just 0. I'm going to take 50, and then I'm going to take some darks. I'm going to take L, R, G, B, and these are going to be 8 seconds. for my stars that I took last night. LRGB, and they're going to be my darks. And then I've got to do this again, LRGB, and those are going to be darks, L, 30 seconds. These are going to be 8 seconds. I'll just go ahead and put that in. This is 45 seconds. 45. And we're going to take our RGB, G, R. Takes a second to set this stuff up, but I'll save this template and use it over and over again. And so these are the only darks I'm going to take tonight, because this is what I need for my target. And then the next night, and I'll take these probably between 8 o'clock and 9:30 or 10 when I start imaging. And that's about okay. I don't want to check any of those, so let's just go back now and take our flats for HA03 and S2, and so we'll have our darks for our 8 seconds that we took for the stars. And I didn't take 8-second darks for the stars for a loom, so I can delete this one. You don't, for stars, you don't need a luminance filter. Okay. All right. So, let's save this. We're clocking. I hate this. Oh, good. Let's save this now before I lose it. It crashed a while ago. And I will have to cool. I don't want this flat dark. I don't want that one checked. We just want these flats for. Okay, I will have to cool the camera tonight for these flat darks. So let's get started and resume where we were. And it's taking the first, and when it's done I'll have my flats taken for both my LRGB and my HAS203. Tonight I'm going to probably do some narrowband imaging after I finish taking some broadband blue filter Andromeda, and then I'll have Andromeda in the can, and then tomorrow I'll be able to process Andromeda because I'll have my darks, my bias, and my flat darks if I choose to use them. And so, all right, we're going to call this one a wrap, and tonight I'm going to be live imaging, clouds allowing, and come join me and check it out.